Hello there. My name is Paul McVeigh, and I'm the author of The Good Son. And I am about to make my second video for you, and it's going to continue on from where we left off last week. So, Mickey has written a poem in his class, and he doesn't like the fact that someone's written a better story, and he's run out with his jotter down the back of his trousers and to go to the toilet, and he's gone by his favourite teacher from P3's, Mrs. O'Halloran, and she's told everybody that he's going to St. Malachy's, and so he's just left Mrs. O'Halloran's class. There we go. In the toilet, I take out my jotter. I rip out my poem and tear it up, throw it down the toilet and flush it away forever. Everyone looks at me when I walk into class, so I put my head down and go to my seat. I hide under the desk, pretending to tie my lace. "Ah, Mr. Donnelly, we've been waiting for you," says Mr. McManus. "What, sir?" I say, like I'm completely thick and really stupid and cool. "You said you had something for the competition," says he. "No, I didn't." That comes out too cheeky. "Stand up, Mr. Donnelly," he says. I've crossed the McManus line, whispering and oohs around the room. "Are you now saying that you don't have something to read out?" "I does, sir. I saw him writing it," Fartin Martin says, and hides his head in his arm on the desk, laughing. "Well," says sir. "No, look," I hold up blank pages in my jotter. "See?" "You are being very irritating today, Mr. Donnelly. First, you're late, and now this. What do you think will happen if you behave like that in secondary school? Why don't you stand there for a while and perhaps you'll remember what you did with your writing?" Mr. McManus goes for a fag at the door. Why does he even care? I mean, I love Mr. McManus, but sometimes he gets on like someone shoved a duster up his arse. "You're for it now?" Fartin laughs and points at me. "What did you do that for?" I say. "'Cause I saw you write one. I thought you were only messing. You don't have one," he says in complete eyebrow-raised disbelief. I don't want to fall out with Fartin because he's my best friend in school. Actually, he's my only friend. We don't knock about together after school because he lives at the top end of Ardoyne near the prods, and I'm not allowed up there because there's riots. We won't see each other much over the summer holidays after school finishes. And then in September, I'm going to St. Malachy's and he's going to St. Gabriel's with everyone else. I wonder where Helmet Head is going. He thinks he's great with his blonde hair and his blue eyes, and oh, look at me and my brilliant stories and clean uniform. Mr. McManus comes back in, followed by Mr. Brown, the head. "Donnelly, come here," says Mr. Brown, and I do, because he's one scary specimen. I'm never in trouble at school. I'm a good boy. Can't be about the writing. Must be about St. Malachy's. Mr. Brown said it was best not to tell the other boys, and finished the sentence with a look of "if you want to get out of here alive." Mr. Brown is whispering to Mr. McManus. Looking very serious, Mr. Brown puts his hand on my back and pushes me out into the corridor. I stand by the windows looking out at the tarmac playground covered in glass and splats of colour from the paint bombs the hard men threw over the walls at night. Reflected in a glass, I see Mr. McManus, hand over his mouth, staring at his feet. Mr. Brown has one hand in his pocket and the other is rubbing his baldy head. Something's wrong. It's like one of those scenes in a film where someone's being told bad news, where the music plays and we know what they're saying even though we can't hear the words. Usually the hero is being told he's terminally ill or his parents have died in a car crash. We don't have a car, so follow me, says Mr. Brown, and I do, but look round at Mr. McManus, who's still at the doorway smiling at me like I've got leukemia. I did have a nosebleed last Christmas. I actually feel a bit dizzy. At the end of the corridor, Mr. Brown's office door is open. He walks in. I wait outside. I'm in my hospital bed. The whole family's kneeling before me, crying. And I raise myself up to say, I forgive you all. Even you, Paddy. I smile, touch his head, and then I die. Come in, Michael, says Mr. Brown, which is the first time in 7 years he's called me by my first name. Holy shite, my ma and da are here in their Sunday clothes. This is getting too TV. Sit down, son, says da, all nice. Hopefully Mr. Brown can't smell last night's drink from under da's polo minty breath. I sit in the empty chair. Michael, I know we've spoken about the offer from St. Malachy's, and I want to assure you that we're extremely proud of you here at Holy Cross, said Mr. Brown, fidgeting with his papers. You are a big boy, Michael, and there are things you have to understand. He folds his fingers like a cat's cradle and taps the knotted bunch on his desk. He takes a deep breath. Michael, your mum and dad have asked me to talk to you to help you understand that Ma coughs, shifts in her chair and looks at the floor. Unfortunately, Michael, you're not able to go to St. Malachy's. Mr. Brown, his mouth moves, but there's no sound. Concentrate, Mickey. Don't space out. I hear something about 5 years and trips, uniforms and books, 2 buses there and 2 buses back. But I love buses, I say. And I'm looking at my ma to back me up. But she's staring at Mr. Brown, who gets up from his seat and plays with the blinds. My breathing is loud in my ears. I keep missing what he's saying. Like when our Paddy turns the sound up and down on the telly just to annoy me. Your mummy and daddy can't afford it, Michael. They feel terrible, Mr. Brown says. Ma's face is purple. She's not going to say anything. And whatever is jamming the sound in my head is messing with my powers. Is it the aliens? Or the Russians? Protestants. Now you'll be able to go to St. Gabriel's just like Paddy, Da smiles, putting his disgusting orangey brown fag-burnt fingers on my shoulder. He means wear Paddy's old uniforms like I've done my whole life. Paddy's old everything, even his bloody trunks. I look at Da and know with absolute certainty that this man is not my father. Just as I know by the smallness of his eyes that this is all his fault. Everything bad that ever happens to our family is because of him. We'll see ourselves out, sir, says Da, holding out his hand, acting like he doesn't want to cause any trouble when that's all he's ever done. You can take Michael home with you, help him through the transition, says Mr. Brown. No, I'm sure he'd rather be here playing with his friends, wouldn't you, son, says Da. Friend, duh, one friend. That's how much he knows. And no, actually, I would like to go home, sir, I say. No problem, says Mr. Brown, looking pale and walking fast out the door. I'll get your school bag. Silence. We all stare out the window, watch the sun come out from behind a big fuzzy felt cloud. All 3 of us squint and turn our heads, making sure we don't catch each other's eyes. Starts Da. Mickey, he sighs into the sandpaper shuffle of his hand along his stubble. I've got a surprise for you, a big surprise for you. It's coming tonight, says Da. I look at the stupid grin on his face. I check Ma. She hasn't a clue. He's a big liar. Ma nods to me, then towards Da, her eyes opening wide. This means, please, Mickey, play along with your dad for me, because you know what'll happen if you don't. Okay, Ma, for you. I know we have no money, and I would never skunter about it. A big surprise, wow, I say, like a kid on TV. I look out the window. Then it descends upon me like the Holy Spirit. It's a dog, isn't it, Daddy? Oh, Daddy, I'm so happy. This makes up for everything. I won him. I smile at Ma like I've no idea what I've just done. She's said no to a dog since I was 5. She's going to break every single bone in my body. But at least then I won't have to go to St. Gabriel's.